Bay Area faithful, my goodness, how's it going? If you are not hyped yet, you're about to be when you find out about this undrafted free agent that the San Francisco 49ers just picked up. He is an absolute mauler. If you're new here, I'm Nate, covering all things San Francisco sports, and it really helps me out if you hit that subscribe button. Well, these are probably some familiar faces to you if you are a 49ers fan and paid any attention to the draft, but who you're not going to see in this picture is part of the story. Now, the San Francisco 49ers did draft wide receivers, offensive linemen, a running back, cornerback, safety, just to name a few. Actually, I might have named all of them there. But you know who's not in this pic? The undrafted. That's who's not in this picture. And the 49ers organization love them some defensive tackles. You know what I mean? History speaks for itself. And they surprisingly, at least to some people, did not pick up a defensive tackle in the draft at least. San Francisco just signed nose tackle Evan Anderson out of Florida Atlantic, an undrafted free agent. And this guy is an absolute hoss. This guy's 6'3", 320. He's fast. He's versatile. I'll get into more of that in a second, but it didn't matter to the 49ers that he was not drafted and not picked up. And we can ask the question, why wasn't he picked up in the draft? Maybe that's for later in the video, but what the San Francisco 49ers did do is they did commit to him $280,000 guaranteed money. So my bet is this guy is making the 53. He could be a practice squad guy, technically speaking, when you think about the minimum wage. But man, this guy is probably going to be second string, in my opinion. Just my humble opinion. Let me know in the comments what you think. But let's talk about this guy's strengths. Firstly, leadership. He was a leader, team captain over at FAU. He played both ways in high school, so he's got some versatility there. I know high school was a long time ago, but he's an absolute athlete. This guy can handle double teams, which is what a lot of people say about him, which is what I love. So this great article by Mark Adams talking about Evan Anderson and how he is special. Just listen to what he said. This basically assures DT Evan Anderson at least a spot in the 49ers practice squad as a rookie. The minimum salary for practice squad players full season $225. I think I sort of hinted at that already. The 49ers, who surprisingly did not draft a defensive tackle, are likely high on Anderson. If the team is offering him as much as they reportedly are, it is an indication that GM John Lynch and company may believe Anderson is good enough to almost certainly make the practice squad and that he has a chance to eventually make the roster. Keep going. The former FAU Owl effectively takes on double teams and has shown flashes in which he wreaks havoc in the middle of the line. He was voted team captain when he was named third team All-American Athletic Conference. In 2023, Anderson had 22 tackles and 3.5 sacks. Now, if you want to be down on the guy, that's probably a fair assessment there, something to be a little bit worried about. He has not been the guy who's breaking through and forcing a ton of sacks. That's okay, because I actually think what the 49ers probably have in mind for this individual is more in the run block. He's a hoss. He can handle double teams. He's a beast. He's a mauler. So put him in those situations like goal line scenarios. Put him in when you know there's going to be a run. Obviously, he's probably not going to be first string, so he's your relief when necessary, or for goodness sake, many times last season, you saw 49ers fans, lots of players going down to injury, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So you have to have depth. Now, while we're talking about depth, let's talk about draft strategy, because I think this is actually really important. What was the draft strategy for the San Francisco 49ers going into the draft last week? What was their draft strategy, right? Now, most people would suggest they're looking for wide receivers for a couple reasons, but contracts being an obvious one. Number two, offensive linemen. They need some depth there for sure. Defensive tackles, historically, 49ers love a defensive tackle. So yeah, sure, you got that there. You definitely need some depth in the secondary, though. You have cornerbacks, safeties. Just look at the injury situation. Charvarius Ward was incredible, but you definitely want depth in that position as well, because you never know what's going to happen. We've seen it all too many times as football fans, have we not? So I think really in all of those categories, you're talking about depth. You're not really sitting on a real problem when you're going into the draft, right? You're looking down the barrel of a pretty good looking football team. So I think personally, the 49ers are the most well-rounded team in the NFL. On the offensive side, they have more weapons than any other team. Any team would dream to have the weapons that they have, both with Debo and, of course, with Christian McCaffrey being able to run and catch the ball. Then you, of course, have Kittle, who's absolutely stout, and I think constantly underrated because he's not dating Taylor Swift. Let's be honest. That's the reason that he's so underrated. I mean, his hair is as long as Taylor Swift's, so maybe there's a connection there. But no, I mean, he's an incredible tight end, and he had several games last season where he was the guy, and that's what makes San Francisco 49ers so amazing. They have so many guys who can be the guy. And then not to mention, of course, Brandon Ayuk out there catching balls, Jennings. You got other people out there who can catch the ball and can make something happen, even if the ball comes off of someone else's helmet. You know what I'm talking about. Sorry, Lions fans. So all of that being said, the 49ers are the most well-rounded team. They're going into the drafts in the most pretty spot possible, which is I just need depth. I need more guys who can support this, which is great because if you're a true 49ers fan, the longevity that's going to come from an organization that can keep doing this right now, that are in this exact scenario, it's a win for me, in my opinion. So they're focusing on the depth. They're looking for guys in the draft, of course, wide receiver core, cornerback, safety, etc. But then outside of the draft, picking up a guy like Evan Anderson. Big move. I think he's going to be absolutely stout. I'm excited for him. So you got weapons on offense. You're stout on defense already, and you're adding to the depth there, of course, too. What about Purdy? Of course, Purdy is already super improved, but only going to continue getting better. If you watch Purdy after injury, after that 3-game stretch where he's a little bit on the weaker side, he's incredible. And if Purdy is anything, he's an example of what a guy who was not a top draft pick can do. Am I right? Look at what Purdy's doing, Mr. Irrelevant, and take a guy who's this defensive tackle, obviously completely different situation, but still a guy who's maybe written off. Nobody's thinking of him as an absolute baller, and you're still, I mean, come on. If you walk up next to 6'3", 320 Evan Anderson in real life, what are you doing? I don't care if you're 6'8", you're still looking up at him, right? This dude's massive. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen for the Bay Area faithful. Listen, my name is Nate. If you didn't know, I'm from Colorado, and I grew up, though, in California. And so I've got two loves in the National Football League. I have the AFC Denver Broncos, and I have the NFC San Francisco 49ers. My brother actually diehard 49ers fan. Shout out TJ. But I'm going to be covering all things San Francisco sports, especially the San Francisco 49ers. So make sure you're subscribed to this channel so you don't miss any of the content. Bay Area faithful, what a time to be alive.